Religious narcissists are dangerous people because you see, they are people that will use God and the devil as ways to completely avoid any responsibility or accountability for their behavior. And so God will command them within their false self to do things that are positive, and the devil will make them do all the bad things, their lustful behaviors, temptation. They always appear to be in a spiritual struggle between their impulsive, toxic behaviors that they attribute to Satan and their false self's need to appear like a good person, which they attribute to God. And so they have very narcissistic and grandiose fantasies about their own self-importance, as if the war of good and evil is being waged over them. Like they're so self-significant that they literally think that they're being commanded by God to do things, or that the devil is forcing them to do other things. And so if they do crazy things, the devil made them do it. If they do good things, then God made them do it. And sometimes if they do bad things, it's because they're justified by the name of God. And so, Christianity and other religions are often safe haven for really fanatical people, and modern fundamentalists use the Bible or any other religious doctrines to, persecute people, to justify the most inhuman and inhumane things. And their views of God as this narcissistic father figure, a sociopath in the sky, that literally demands worship and will send you to hell to burn forever if you just don't believe. And if you do believe, you're automatically going to heaven and nothing else matters. And so you'll see that there's a narcissism that is, clearly obvious within the modern religious practices where, needing God to be a punisher, and then using God for revenge. Like these types love telling people who's going to hell. They feel righteous, even entitled, even just in persecution, just in telling you who's going to hell. And that's why they're so angry. That's why they're so defensive, is that their false self is now a Christian. And so all they do is do the same toxic behaviors, except now they can literally help deal with their own shame and lack of accountability based on God. They love saying things like, we're all sinners, to create an equal playing field to avoid their lack of responsibility. They love to feel forgiven. They're so narcissistic that they think that Jesus died just for their personal shame and guilt, and that this notion that they can never measure up to God is something that they use as a perpetual get-out-of-jail-free card. They actually interpret it as they don't have to worry about being a bad person because God will always forgive them. And they demand you to forgive them too. And so it's unfortunate that, a lot of these religious teachings were transformed into, dogmatic, rigid, persecutory doctrines of social control. Where in the real sense, I guess for all these narcissists that are Christians, at least it gives them a moral framework. People that can't imagine personal morality without the fear of hell, the promise of heaven, that literally have turned God into a scam artist, like literally have turned God into a coercive, controlling manipulator that arbitrarily created rules and moralities with no effort to try to understand. Like they don't even want the responsibility of looking at their interpretations, because the modern interpretations cater towards the minds of narcissists. And that's why amongst these modern Christians, you find the most profound hypocrisies. It's no shock when you see a preacher that might be preaching against, LGBT issues, and you find out, look at what they're really doing. Maintaining some false image as a family man, like even the conversion types. And so, when we look at the enmeshment of white nationalism and evangelical Christians and Zionism. And this is the same mentality that felt just in slavery and wiped out the American Indian population on the premise of manifest destiny, thinking they're evil or heathens. You see that even modern religions that are Christian in their origins would say that black people were painted as a way to identify them, making them less. And so, when you're talking about teachings that were meant to lead to enlightenment, now doing the exact opposite, that the powers that have hijacked Christianity, look at them. People are still Catholics. When this church literally shuffled the deck of child predators for years, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of children abused, and there's no God in an organization that protects child predators knowingly just moving them to other locations. It's sick. And then you think about all this conversion stuff, you think about the hatred towards LGBT people. Like, anybody that could persecute anybody for any reason is not connected to God in any way. If you use the Bible to persecute anybody, if you even point and say the word sin at someone else, that's evil. If you imagine other people going to hell that you don't agree with, if your utility of all the teachings that you can find is literally taking a highlighter to just find the passages you need to demonize and persecute and justify, that's not God. You're not praying to God. Like, if you sit there and need vengeance, if you think that hell is something for a punishment for the people you disagree with, if you even have that much hate in your heart, why, if you would even look at someone else and think about hell as something worthy for that person. You want to think about that. That's worse than unaliving. If you believed it, like, if you're looking at another human being and lustfully imagining them suffering forever, wow, that's not even throwing stones. That's an abomination of the teachings entirely. That is sick. And so that's why, for me, I don't care about people's beliefs. I'm not here to worry about what someone thinks. Their thoughts are literally, useless. Like, if they don't have teachings that produce love, compassion, enlightenment, empathy, freedom, if they ever persecute people, if you ever even suggest who God hates, you're out of touch with reality. You're not even able to master the teachings or even understand them, even in the most basic sense. So the convenience of interpretation has enabled them to take the wisdom and turn it into a Dr. Seuss story to fight with science and to be angry, angry, angry. When the teachings say no sword formed against you shall prosper, and you can't even have a conversation without getting angry, like, whoa, you don't need to defend your religion. Why would you need to do that? If your religion gives you so much confidence, freedom, clarity, compassion, love, then that should just be the basis of who you are in the world, not spouting off your beliefs. Believe it or not, in 2023 and 2024, nobody needs to hear about Jesus from you. They got the stories already. Yeah, we've heard all about it. Yeah, 2,000 years, we've heard a lot. And the way that you talk and what you're teaching people has no power, has no grace, has no possibility, has nothing. Like, you're orchestrating hell on earth. You're using the Bible in the most blasphemous and inhuman way. And it is totally narcissistic when you listen to people fight over God. Totally. Righteous entitlement. Same behaviors that are ruining society.